Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, in between Jason, welcome back to something a little bit different. So I haven't made a video quite like this before. It's not exactly a special kind of video, but it's something I would like to know if people would like to see more of. Chaos Origins is fast approaching. And with that, there are a lot of brand new decks coming out. So I thought it'd be pretty interesting if we could take a look at some of the decks early for Genesys format. If you're not familiar, the points list that goes into effect with the release of those new cards has already been announced. We already have a pretty clear idea of what the format could look like. So I thought it'd be pretty cool to talk about today some of the decks I think are most interesting coming from Chaos Origins. And if this is something that you, the viewers, enjoy watching, let me know in the comments, and I'll do this more often for new set releases. We're not going to do a whole deck profile with replays kind of video. I'm just going to open the decks, show you what I'm working with, and what I think about them for Genesys format. So the three decks I want to talk about today are Wed-Fri, Angeliki, or the Chessman deck, and Sacred Beasts. While these aren't exactly projected to be the best deck in the room, I think they're definitely interesting enough to take a look at. I do also want to say that in the future, once Chaos Origins does officially release, there will be full deck profiles with replay videos. Just for today, I just want to show the decks and talk about my thoughts on them. So to start off, we're going to start with the Angeliki deck. And right off the bat, I want to say, yes, one of their most powerful cards cannot be played in Genesys format because it requires the extra monster zone. But I think there are plenty of ways you can build this deck, even without that, still get maximum value out of the spell card effects of the synchro monsters. If you're not familiar with the Angeliki archetype, it is the new TCG exclusive coming in Chaos Origin. It's a deck that has 0 main deck monsters, instead only having a spell card and 2 traps, along with a bunch of synchro monsters that, of course, stay in the extra. The idea is you take your Angeliki synchro monsters, who are basically little chess pieces, and you place them on your board, literally, in the back rows. And from there, they can either summon themselves by fulfilling a condition or by using one of the spell traps, and they also have continuous effects when they're in the back row. Most importantly being this card, Angeliki Shatranga. There's no way that's how you pronounce that, but this card basically says, while this card is treated as a continuous spell, your opponent can only attempt to activate up to 5 monster effects per turn. This is a 0-point floodgate that we can play. So to really maximize that, I wanted to find a deck which could both make a bridge from itself to the Angeliki and also be able to interact with the opponent to make them spend those maximum 5 monster effects. So what I decided to do is to throw the Angeliki cards together with Punk. The big hits to Angeliki for Genesys is actually the pointing of this card, Witness of the Ancients. You can see here it got 33 points. This is the card that basically just allows you to do the entire Angeliki combo, if you want to call it a combo. If you have a single monster in your field graveyard, you can special summon this card from your hand. This card special summon, you can place 3 single monsters with different names from your extra and/or graveyard in your spell and trap zone space with team spells. And you special summon a token. And when you place the Angelikis, they have effects that will trigger when they're placed as continuous spells. So from there, you get the entire thing set up, and you are locked into synchros if you use Witness. And as you can tell, that we're only playing 2 non-synchros. But it's not an entire turn lock, so we're able to use the Punk cards first, which is why it's good that they bridge into the Angeliki cards. The Punk cards really help us make this big layered end board, where we can end on both a Sharakusai to bounce max 4 cards back to the opponent's hand, whatever your Punk trap of choice is, as well as we also set up Jam Fever, and we'll have the Omni Negate of Angeliki Disturbance. So I really built this deck to have the maximum consistency for getting our Punk play started, which is maxing out an Ogre Dance. This is the best 1-card combo in Punk because of the release of Rising Scale. So we're playing the 3 Ogre Dance, 3 Dark Spirits Mastery to search the Ogre Dance. We're also playing 3 Foxy Tune. We can also get the Angeliki plays going with the Trap card that we can discard with Foxy, which has the graveyard effect to banish itself and then adds you the Angeliki field spell. But whether or not this is the best build of Angeliki, I think we do have to not fear, but be prepared for Angeliki to be splashed in decks. This can just exist alongside other things. All right, next up I want to take a look at Wed-Fri. Wed-Fri is really interesting, mostly because it is sitting at a whopping 0 points for any card with the name Wed-Fri. So I've seen like usual, when there's a competent deck that has no points associated with it, people playing Droll. You can just spend 60 points on Droll and Lockbird, and then boom, right away, a major threat in any event. But instead, I went for a build that really spreads out the points to have more hits than just 3 Drolls. So this build of Melfi leans heavily into making the Xyzes on our turn. Usually with Melfi, you would just, set some cards, pass, especially your dudes all in the end phase. The new card, Melfi Footsteps here, which just, you can see here, adds 4 Melfi monsters with different names. That leans into that gameplay. You cannot special non-Melfis the turn you use that card. Thanks to this new TCG exclusive, Serenemisia, this new mystical beast of the forest. This allows us to play as a lot more of a turn 1 combo deck. Basically being able to see this along with any Melfi, we are able to special the other new Melfi Rabbies from our deck, which then can add Melfi Rabbi, the vanilla. You do need to play the vanilla in this, it's very important, who then can special summon any number of beast monsters from our hand. So a big reason I wanted to talk about Melfi here, I've seen so many different varieties of this deck. Obviously, there's a certain number of names you should play. I do think maxing out on Caddy, Puppy, and Wally, along with Rabbies and the new mystical beast, is probably the best way to play it, at least there. But then after that, it really is kind of freestyling. Do you want more recursion? Do you want to add more pony? Do you want to add more penny? You can play more Hoppier. You can play extra Calantosa if you want. Rescue Cat is 0 points. You can normal summon Rescue Cat, summon 2 Melfis, and just start making Xyz plays. I'm also on this really interesting card called Cattle Call. Send one face-up monster you control to the graveyard whose type is Beast, Beast Warrior, Wing Beast, special one monster reactor with the same original type, but it cannot attack, its effects negates, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't matter. What this does is it takes any of our guys, sends it to the grave, summons Melfi Mommy, which then gets immediately Melfi God Mommy overlaid on top of it, which then lets us search Footsteps, the normal trap, or if we already have anything, we can just add Staring Contest. And again, talking about the different varieties, Melfi Staring Contest is another card that people are either playing 1, 0, or some people are even maxing out at 3, because it takes any of our beast monsters. So if we open too many of the new mystical beast, or if we opened Calantosa, we can shovel it back and add a Melfi we want. But while I think Melfi is a very interesting deck and is probably going to be decently powerful at 0 points, the problem with it is it does still have the Melfi issue of needing to respond to normal special summons or a monster targeting a specific Melfi for an attack. We are still kind of hosed by cards like Dark Hole, Forbidden Chalice, but I do think, though, that Melfi is definitely a really good choice for the upcoming Genesis format. Another deck I think is probably the most powerful of the 3 I want to talk about today. We have Sacred Beasts. Now, at first, I didn't really think the Sacred Beast deck was going to be that good for Genesis, mostly because whenever I tried to look at what this deck did, all I would see is people playing like the Unchained cards, with U-Bell cards, these Link Spam Fiend Slop kind of decks. So I wasn't really sure if this could do something in Genesis, but after throwing, not this exact list, but a previous worse list together, I started playing around with the deck, doing test hands, and I definitely felt this deck is powerful. Points-wise, they put points actually a decent number of cards. Summon of the Sacred Beast got 5 cards, Martyr of the Sacred Beast got 2, Sacred Beast of Thunderclap got 2, Abyss of the Sacred Beast also got a single point. Now, this is because the awkward thing with this deck is you need these 3 specific cards at 3 no matter what, because they each have the effect, in case of these spell traps, you can activate as an ignition effect, an effect to set 2 more from deck or graveyard onto your field, and with the monster, to special summon 2 more copies of itself. It's leaning into the original idea behind the Sacred Beast monsters, where they need to be special summoned by tributing 3 specific cards, 1 being monsters, 1 being traps, and 1 being spells. They've sort of reimagined that with this brand new field spell that's very powerful, that tributes from hand or field 3 of either 3 monsters, 3 spells, or 3 traps to special your Sacred Beast monster. So rather than these guys having their own summoning condition, this will just special summon them for free. Another reason why this card, Summoner of the Sacred Beast, is pointed is because one of these cards can summon you up to 3 Sacred Beasts. 1 is its hand effect, 1 is its field effect, and 1 is its graveyard effect. But you might be asking, what is like the end goal of this? Well, that is this brand new fusion. By the way, we're only playing 2 of the old cards because there's like negative synergy between these new Sacred Beasts and the old one. Mostly because the old Sacred Beast cards don't mention Sacred Beasts, they mention all the guys by name. This new fusion is the absolute powerhouse that ties this deck together. This is the Chaotic Phantasmal Sacred Beast. It has a lot of words on it. Most importantly, it can be summoned by sending 3 level 10s that cannot be normal summoned or set, which is our 3 good boys right here, sends them to the grave, summons itself, but it can also be summoned the old-fashioned way. See, this old normal spell, the Dimension Fusion Destruction, can banish the Sacred Beast from grave to summon another copy. So despite this being a once per turn 2 special using its own effect, we can summon 2 of them using also using Dimension Fusion Destruction. And this card has a soft thrice per turn, once per chain effect to target a face of monster your opponent controls, negate its effects, and then you gain life equal to half that monster's effects. And oh, by the way, this guy is a 5k beater. Absolutely insane card. Another big plus for this deck is the Sacred Beasts are all level 10. That allows us to play absolutely insane level 10 powerhouses like Garudras for an Omni Negate, or the brand new Gustav Rocket for another Monster Negate. Another huge plus for the Sacred Beast deck is that all of these guys have effects that require you to discard a card. So we're playing some of the Fiend discard powerhouses like Boyo, Fiendish Rhino Warrior, and Diabolica. Diabolica being able to add us back a Fiend from grave, Boyo being able to get us Mutiny in the Sky for some extra fusion summoning, and Fiendish Rhino being the card that can just also send any of our other 3 fiends. We're also playing this Phantasmal Summoning Beast because you can ignore every line of text on this card except you can match this card from your graveyard, add 1 Dimension Fusion Destruction from your deck to your hand. Not to mention, by the way, this deck has some other crazy powerhouse cards. We have this new trap card, Sacred Beast Combined Assault, which can special back a Sacred Beast from your hand or graveyard, and then if you have 2 Sacred Beast monsters whose original levels are 10, it's just an Omni Negate for any face-up card the opponent controls. It also destroys, and then also, during the same turn, you can banish it from the graveyard to fusion summon another Chaotic Phantasmal Sacred Beast. Honestly, at this point, I think I'm selling myself. I'm probably wanting to play 3 of these. I would have to take another look at the extra to see if there's anything we can cut. Probably these shit dollar cards, if I'm being honest. But even now, I'm getting more inspired on what we can do with this deck. Oh, speaking of power cards, I didn't even mention this. Sacred Beast released. Add 3 Sacred Beast monsters from different names from your deck to your hand. Then discard 2 cards. I'm sorry, is that Graceful Charity but better? So I think of all the decks I've showed you today, this is probably the one I want to play the most. Yes, it's not good into Dimensional Shifter or Dimensional Fissure, but if we're being hopeful, the pointing of those cards has definitely removed them from the format, right? Oh god. So that's all I really want to say about these 3 decks. 3 decks I'm really excited to be playing with more in the future. But before we wrap up today's video, there's actually one more thing I want to talk about. You've probably heard, if you're in the know for Genesys format, that there is a certain deck that's going to be running around a lot. That being the COSMO Neos Turn Skip. This is a deck I've featured on the channel before. MBT Yu-Gi-Oh! Has also made a video on it, and I think if you actually go back to my video on my channel, in the comments is a link to the original deck profile from the player who basically made this deck known. Anyway, a lot of players are scared of this deck. So I want you to take a second here at the end of the video to talk about 3 cards that you could play to stop it. So these are the 3 cards that can best stop the Cosmo Neos Turn Skip. If you're not familiar with the Hero Turn Skip, basically, they throw Elemental Hero Neos and 3 neo-spacians to summon this card, the 21-pointed Elemental Hero Cosmo Neos. And this card is Hot Red Dragon King Calamity, for those who remember. So it essentially turn skips you if you're not playing like a trap deck. You know, Paleo Socks to the moon, I guess. The best way for us to beat this is one of these 3 cards. Foolish Return. Target 1 card in your opponent's graveyard, shuffle into the deck. This can be used to shuffle back any of the neo-spacians, or hopefully they leave Neos in grave, so you can just shuffle back the Neos. There is a slight chance of them having 4 neo-spacian names, so we'd much prefer to being able to target the Neos, but that's not always possible. The other is Extragate. Declare level between 1 and 12. Your opponent bashes 1 monster of that level from their extra deck. If your opponent does not have a monster of that level in their extra deck, you discard 1 card. Now the thing with this is Cosmo Neos, besides being 21 points, is also the only level 11 hero fusion monster. So unless they become aware of extra gate and start putting random level 11s in their extra deck, activating this, declaring 11 will always loop the Cosmo Neos out of their deck. And the last card is Spell Card Monster Reborn. This functions very similar to the Foolish Return, but it also removes the card completely from the opponent's control. Being able to target a monster in either graveyard, special summon to your field, is probably better quote-unquote removal than Foolish Return. It is also, I think, a better card for the format because it can be used against other decks. This is functionally called by the grave for monster effects that don't immediately trigger in once they hit grave. Like, this is actually pretty decent against Sacred Beasts. So, I want to say, thank you guys for watching this video. If you'd like to see more videos like this, let me know in the comments. If you'd like me to change up the format, or if there's anything else you'd like me to include with this little deck yapping of things I'm excited about, let me know. Alright? Once again, thank you for watching. Talk to you guys later. Goodbye.